Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope you're having a lovely Sunday. Thank you so much for joining me. Or it may not be Sunday when you watch this. It may be any day of the week. I hope you're having a wonderful any day of the week. Thanks so much for joining me. Today is release day for the Simon Says Stamp January 2026 card kit. I'm super excited I get to share it with you. And then we're going to make some card projects using it. This kit this month, I cannot believe it's going to be the January 2026 kit. It's called The Small Things, and it's amazing. It's perfect wintry theme. I'm going to share with you really quickly the kit, and then we're going to jump in and create some cards. So this is a little bit of a longer video, but let's take a look at it really quickly, okay? And first off, we get 3 sheets. They're 8.5 by 11 sheets of cardstock. 2 of them are Simon. We have the Sage, and then we also have the Soft Navy. Okay, which is probably my favorite blue. I love the color of this. We're going to be using the Sage on our cards today. And then you also get a sheet of Nina cardstock, which makes great card bases, and it's great for stamping. So 3 of these sheets. We get a 6x8 stamp set called The Small Things. And Small Things Small, and it has beautiful winter elements to it. You get lots of trees, snowflakes, and forest animals. Love this. Also included in our kit is a stencil and die combo. The die set has a tag included in it, and then it has this beautiful snowflake. This is great on its own. In fact, today we're going to use it on its own, but it's also great with a stenciled snowflake. This is a 2-piece stencil set. They're 2 4x4 stencils that would create this pretty design, and then you can cut it out with the snowflake die. So this is a set. So we get a set in our kit this month. It's pretty fabulous. I keep saying this month, but it's actually for January. So that's pretty wonderful. Also included is another die set, which is just as fabulous. This is called the Snowy Tree. This tree is a multi-layers. You get the base tree, and then each one of these, when you die cut it out, are individual. I'm going to show you an easy way to layer these on here today. Okay, and then you get some little snow caps that are individual too. It's a really pretty tree. Love this. That is in our kit. Another wintry item in our kit is an embossing folder, and it's a beautiful one. Look how gorgeous this is. This is called the Pixie Snowflake. It's a large offset snowflake. It's perfect for backgrounds. That's in our kit. We get some pattern papers. We get 12 of them. There's a unique feature to these. I'm not going to go through all of them, but one side of them is they're 6x6 sheets. Okay, and they do have they're not matte. They have a glossy finish to them, real smooth. They're a nice weight, and these are from La La Land Crafts. This is from the Winter Forest pack. Okay, I mentioned something special about them, but one side has a full 6x6 image, and some of them have quartered images. I don't know if you can tell, but these have 4 different scenes on here. It's really, really pretty. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you were to quarter them, they make perfect little note cards. And then also some of them, like this one, they're cut in half. You see how if you cut, this is one image, and then this is another image. So I thought that was pretty unique. These will go great. The quartered ones will go great for note cards. This one will go great for mini slimline cards. So you get 12 of these. So super fun pattern papers. Also included is an A2 panel of Simon Says Stamp's holographic lava cardstock. It's a really groovy holographic. I love the way the camera's picking it up because that's exactly the way it looks like in real life. We're going to be using this on our card today too. And then also included is a sheet of Tim Holtz. This is the Ideology Silver Craft Metallic cardstock. The backside is craft, and I think we're going to use the backside that's craft just to switch things up a little bit. And this is a 6x9 inch sheet. Okay. We also get a full-size container of Simon Says Stamp's Cool Tones Positively Dazzling Gems. I have these, and they're pretty amazing. You get blue, green, you get teals, blues, greens, light blues, and purples in here too. They're beautiful buffet in all different sizes. So I love that they're included. And last but not least, we get a 1-ounce jar of Tim Holtz Distress Twinkle Texture Paste. Now, this is not regular texture paste. The consistency and the texture is way different than regular opaque matte texture paste. That's more of a chalky paste. This one's smooth, smooth like butter. And it does have an iridescent sparkle to it, a real fine iridescent sparkle to it. And anything you put over this, if you do it really thin, you get like a little milky finish. If you use a palette knife over a stencil, you would definitely get a little bit more of an opaqueness. So not quite opaque. There's a little bit of transparency to it, but it's more of a milky finish with this texture paste, and it glides on like butter. It's real smooth. So I have the sparkle texture paste, which is a gold flake. So that's how come I know what this is. We're not going to use this on our card today, but I am going to use this on a card I'm making for Simon Says Stamp. So after I get done with my cards today, keep a lookout over at Simon Says Stamp's YouTube channel, because I'll be making another card for them using the same kit, and I'll use the texture paste with that. So keep a lookout for that video, okay? And I'm not sure when they post it. That's why I just say keep a lookout for it. But let's jump in and create some cards. We do get a sweet treat. But I'm going to figure out some layouts and then maybe fix the lighting, and we're going to make some cards. I'll be right back. For my first card, I trimmed down, I quartered our green cardstock here. What we're going to do is emboss this using our embossing folder. This is absolutely gorgeous. I love the look of this. I'm using Simon Says Stamp's Pawsitively Saturated Raindrop ink. And we are going to add a little color. We're going to go from the bottom halfway up using the raindrop. Actually, I take that back. I really love the way this looks. I'm going to ink the whole thing. So we're going to go around the snowflake. I love how the ink is picking up the raised areas and making it darker. I think that's so pretty. So we're just going to ink the whole panel. Now I'm going to take this panel and I'm going to trim 1 1/4 inches off the bottom. We'll place this in here and let's trim this down to 4 1/4. Beautiful. Now I'm going to go in with a white pigment ink. Normally I would use my Simon Says Stamp white pigment ink, but I wanted to use an older ink pad. So this is Hero Hue's Unicorn ink. And I'm going to go over my snowflake with the unicorn ink very lightly. It's going to pick up that ink on the raised areas. And I just think that looks so pretty. And this is the reason why I use this ink pad. Okay, after we have this done, I'm going to set this aside to let dry for a minute. And now I'm going to do a little bit of die cutting. Now I die cut out my snowflake. I didn't stencil on it. I'm not going to stencil on this one. I just wanted the snowflake from my card. So you're going to use this just as it is. And then I'm also going to be using the smaller tag one. But I want to cut it out with craft cardstock. In our kit this month we have the silver metallic craft cardstock, but we also have this beautiful holographic one. I'm going to use the reverse side of this, and I'm going to die cut out our winter's gift. That's going to be my greeting. And I'm also taking some rectangle dies. The ones that I'm using are Waffle Flowers A2 stitched rectangles. I'm not going to use these for this card, but I did want to share with you while I'm die cutting this. I'm going to go ahead and die cut out all 3 of these stacked together. It's going to give me some frames. Okay, so this is what I have left over, and then I have my frames, because we're going to use some of these in our next card, and I just wanted to share with you how I cut them out. Now using one of my circle dies, I'm going to find one that will fit behind my winter's gift. Let's see. A little too small, maybe one up here. I'm just going to find the circle die that's big enough to go behind my snowflake, and then I'm going to cut out a circle with the holographic. And then we're going to go ahead and take this and glue it behind our tag here. I'm actually going to add a little glue to the E, and then we have that little negative piece to the E here that we're going to add on our tag. You could probably get away with skipping that step, but at least I know it's there. Wonderful. Now I covered up the hole in my tag, so I'm just going to add another one right over the top here. And then I'm going to bring in a white eyelet. These eyelets are on the bigger side. You kind of have to force them in, but it's easier when you need to thread it. Now I'm going to bring in some white twine. We're going to go ahead and thread our tag. And then I'll put some foam tape behind here. Now I'm thinking I wanted a little bit more of the silver on my card. So what I did was took a circle die and I cut out a circle that will fit just inside of the snowflake here. I think that's going to be really pretty. So I'm just going to use some glue and we'll attach this. There we go. And then I'm going to attach my winter's gift tag right in the middle. I think that's going to be really pretty. Look how pretty that is. Okay, I'm going to take this using my paper trimmer. I'm going to trim down about a 1/2 inch strip here, just off the bottom. I'm going to add a little bit of glue at the very top, and then I'm going to add some silver holographic to the bottom of this panel. Now I have my card base. I trimmed down a 2-inch strip of our green cardstock. I'm going to layer this on my card base. This is a top folding card base. We're just going to tack this down right at the bottom. We're going to add some glue to this panel, and then we're going to layer this right over the top. And I'm going to layer this right at the bottom. It's going to overhang a little bit, but I'm doing that because I want it to fall in line with the snowflake that's behind it. Lovely. Now we're going to bring in some of our Positively Dazzling gems, and we're going to add a little bit of sparkle in the background. I'm going to be using the teal. Since there are 3 different sizes, I thought I'd put 3 different sizes and kind of add them in a row between the background of snowflakes. There were 3 different sizes, so I thought we would just layer them in a row as if they were kind of like the snowflake design. Kind of lovely. And I think we need a little bit more white in here. So I cut down a really thin strip of white cardstock, and I'm going to add a little bead of glue here. I'm just taking a white gel pen. You can completely skip this step, but on the raised areas in our snowflake backgrounds, I'm just going to go over it, adding dots of white over them just so they stand out a little more. It's where the pigment ink kind of missed, and I think this is just going to spread out that white also. And that will finish off my first card. Now we're going to move along to our second card. For my second card, we have this leftover piece of cardstock. We are going to ink this up at creating a gradient with our raindrop ink. So we're going to do the same thing as we did with our snowflake, only we didn't emboss it here. So we're just going to add some darker color at the very bottom and then fade out. Now I think that looks so pretty. Okay, now we're going to do some die cutting with our snowy tree. I'm going to die cut out, not the background, we'll die cut out the background with some white cardstock. And then I'll die cut out the tree portion here with our ink blended area. And then with our snow-capped area, I'm going to use the leftover piece of our holographic. A couple of my branches popped out, so I put them back in the die. So my die is behind here, and all I'm going to do is add some glue over these back pieces. Okay, and then I'm going to take my white background and just layer it right over the top. I'm going to use my pokey tool and help lift this out. Well, that worked out great. Look how pretty that is. You just want to make sure you don't get glue on your die. Look how pretty. It has a little bit of a white outline. With my craft cardstock, I created a tree trunk. We're going to go ahead and add a long tree trunk. I just created a triangle, and then we're going to add a pretty tall tree trunk to our tree here. Now with our snowfall, I'm going to punch all of these out. And then I'm going to refer to the packaging, and we're going to add some snowfall. And there we go. That's all there is to that. For this card, we're going to use this background. And I'm going to trim this down to a panel that measures 4 inches by 5.5. I said 5.5, but I meant 5.25. We took a 1/4 inch off. So we have a little bit of a border around our card base. Now with our metallic frame, we're not going to use the metallic, we're going to use the craft part. I am going to pop this up with foam tape, and then this is going to go right here in the front of my card. We're going to add the tree to the left, lining up the bottom of the craft cardstock here. Okay, and then we need a sentiment. So I'm going to bring in my stamp set. I want to take some white cardstock, and then I'm going to create a little hillside, kind of a shallow one. Okay, and we're going to replace the hillside that's in our pattern paper. And I'm going to stamp a greeting on here that says, "Grateful for you in every season." Let's go ahead and pick this up. I'm going to make this a little bit more smaller. There we go. Let's bring in our black ink. I'm going to use my VersaFine Clair. I'm going to stamp this right here at the bottom. And then I'll just layer this over our existing hill, over the frame and the tree trunk. Lovely. I'm going to add a few gems. We're going to finish this card off by adding a few of the gems. And I just picked out all the teal gems. We're kind of going with a color theme here. We're going to add 3 down here at the bottom. And then I will add a couple up here at the top. Lovely. And that will finish off my second card, using the pattern paper and the die. Okay, let's move along to our third card. For my third card, we're going to do some stamping. In our stamp set, I'm going to stamp both the deer. The deer have some little scarves that I'm going to be stamping. I'm going to stamp with my Memento ink because I'm going to color them in with my Copic markers. Okay, I'm going to skip the coloring today, but I will color them in and then I'm going to cut them out. I'm going to fussy cut them out. Simon Says Stamp does have a coordinating die set that you can cut out the images with, but I'm just going to use my scissors and fussy cut. We're going to cozy up our deer and we're going to add some scarves on each of them. The deer with the antlers will have the scarf facing this way, and then this little deer sitting down we're going to have going this way. Now we're going to do some stamping on a piece of our sage cardstock. I'm going to stamp some snowflakes in our background. There's plenty of them to fill in a background, so we're just going to kind of spread them out. I'm going to end up trimming a 1-inch strip off of the side, so I'm just going to focus on one side of my panel here. I treated my paper with my anti-static powder tool, and then I'm going to use my Simon Says Stamp white pigment ink. You can use watermark ink if you want, but my white pigment ink will let me see if I have a good impression. Wonderful. Let's go ahead and add some white embossing powder over this. And then I'll use my heat gun and I'll melt this. Okay, now we're going to do a little bit more ink blending using that same ink. I'm using a raindrop ink. And I'm going to, again, go heavy at the bottom and then fade up. The bottom is going to be covered. So we're just going to go really heavy down here at the bottom. Now I'm going to take a towel and wipe away the ink that is on my background here. I think that looks just beautiful. And I mentioned we're going to trim one side off. So let's bring in a paper trimmer and I'm going to trim off 1 inch off of this side here. Then using the craft cardstock, I'm going to trim down about a 3/4 inch strip, and I'm going to adhere this to this side of my panel here. Let's use a little bit of glue. I'm going to take this and we're going to add this to the front of our card base, and we're going to go all the way to the left with it, okay? For my greeting, we're going to use the greeting that says "with thanks." Okay, and I'm just going to stamp it right here in this bottom corner. We're going to use our VersaFine clear ink. We're going to add this right down here. Lovely. And then we're going to take our little deer and we're going to put some foam tape behind them, and then we're going to layer them right over here in this corner. And then for finishing touches on this card, we're going to bring back our gems and we're going to add some more of those teal gems just for a little extra sparkle. If I have any left here, I think I used a lot of them. Okay, I think I just about used all my teal gems. But that will finish off that card. I think this is one of those cards that would look great with a little bit of splatter in the background. But that finishes that card. So let's take a look at all 3 cards that we made today. So here are 3 cards that we created today with the Simon Says Stamp. Amazing Simon Says Stamp January 2026 card kit. It's called The Little Things, and it's a great way to start your new year. I hope this gives you a little bit of inspiration. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for sticking with me to the end. I have 2 more videos that you guys might be interested here. If you guys are new and like the content that you see, click that subscribe button and also the notification bell. That way for future videos, be notified. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It sure does help the channel. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.